Bhagat Singh was from Faisalabad, which is in Pakistan right now, converted in Pakistan. Fatima Jinnah University was after independence was named as Fatima Jinnah University, otherwise it was built by Sar Tan Se Juda. And this kind of people are very dangerous. This is the ISI of the world. This is the leaders of Pakistan. Critical thinking cannot be part of a development. And that is where religion and science have always been at loggerheads with each other. Our Dharma Shastra consists of using code of conduct, of social and legal procedures, law of inheritance. Religion is not equal to dharma. Ved is equal to science, and since dharma or Hindu dharma, rather dharma came out of Ved, therefore dharma is equal to science. Mahabharata chapter 33, verse 47, it says, Ekacham Kamavatam, Yosho Devate Nukulam Rete, Vedenam Samya, Yukta Saktam, Nateya. That people think that that the forgiving one is incapable. Hello everyone. Now, even before I start this presentation, I hope you would have liked my other videos. If you have not already watched them, please go and watch them on my YouTube channel @the Sanatan Seeker. My reels, numerous reels are also there on my Instagram channel with the same name, the Sanatan Seeker. Friends, we are going to touch today. I am going to touch a very sensitive topic of killing in Pehalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. While terror killings are condemnable and strike terror, which they are perpetrated to, this time it has become more sensitive because a communal or religious color has been given by the terrorists, justifying these killings on their part. Look at this video from General Asif Munir. He is the Pak Army Chief.
पाकिस्तान की कहानी अपने बच्चों को जो है आपने जरूर सुनानी है ताकि वो पाकिस्तान की कहानी ना भूलें. We are different from the Hindus in every possible aspect of life.
He is trying to build a rhetoric of 1947, wherein the two nation theory was propounded based on the religious identity, and that is how Pakistan was formed. In this video, as you would have observed, he is talking about two things. One is the history of Pakistan, which needs to be told to the children of Pakistan, and the other one is the hatred towards Hindus, and is saying that we are very different from Hindus. So let me first take the easier one first, which is the history of Pakistan. So Mr. Asim Munir, the history of Pakistan, or to all the Pakistanis and everyone around the world and my viewers, a nation which is born in 1947 can't have a history prior to that. Hence Bhagat Singh, who was from Faisalabad, which is in Pakistan right now, Ramadeen Pandey, who was from Karachi, currently in Pakistan, both good freedom fighters, brave freedom fighters who fought for the freedom of India. They are very well respected in India, but they have been forgotten in Pakistan. You know why? Again, the same thing, because they were Hindus. They are not venerated or even remembered, let alone your school-going children know about your history. What will you teach them? And another case in point is Sir Gangaram. Sir Gangaram is supposed to be the father of modern Lahore. He made significant contributions to the infrastructure and development of Lahore, Pakistan. And during the British Raj, Gangaramji designed and constructed a lot of iconic buildings like Lahore Museum, Atchison College, which every Pakistani is very proud of. If they pass out, I've heard, if they pass out from this college, they are supposed to have done something in their lives. The General Post Office of Lahore, again built by Sir Gangaram. The Fatima Jinnah University, another case in point, Fatima Jinnah University was, after independence, was named as Fatima Jinnah University, otherwise it was built by Sir Gangaram. And the Gangaram Hospital, the same kind of Gangaram Hospital which has been built in India, in New Delhi, is there in Lahore also. But, because they are Hindus, you would have forgotten about them. What will you teach them as the history of Pakistan? A nation which is ashamed of of telling about the progress of a country and great things which have happened in the country by people because they belong to a particular religious identity is a nation which has no roots. Because believe me, all the good things which have happened in Pakistan happened before 1947. After 1947, the kind of things that you have built, the fruits that now you are reaping, are there in front of the whole world to see. Lots of deaths, huge deaths, terrorists, the home ground of terrorists, jihadis, and everything. That is what you've done after independence. One thing that you are proud of, weapon of mass destruction, which is nuclear weapon that you have developed, uh, but you have not developed anything which is constructive. Anything which is constructive was developed by people pre Pakistan, pre formation of Pakistan in 1947, and but you will never teach them about your history. Why? Just because they're Hindus. Now, hence, it will fall prey one day to the fanatics, the religious fanatics that you have, and fake narrations that you have built over the past so many decades, and which is exactly what is happening in your country, a nation which is deprived of its own identity. Whereas, on the contrary, I need not educate anyone about the history of India and Sanatan. We existed when no religion in this world was even born. When people did not even know how to dwell in civic societies, no town planning, no drainage system, nothing was there in the whole world. Then at that point of time, we had Mohenjo-daro and Harappa, and a large part of it is in Pakistan right now, which was made by Hindus and Indians. Market. And in this society is dated 3000 BC, more than 3000 BC, which is from the current dating system more than 5500 years old. And however, our other texts are much older than this. I mean, you talk about Ramayana, Mahabharata, our Surya Siddhant, which is more than 14,000 years old, our Vedic system, our Shastras, our Vedas, everything is centuries and millennials old. And therefore, we are very, very proud of our history and which we teach to every Indian, irrespective of their religion. However, let's look at another very interesting, I would say, theory which I propounded, which I made is literacy versus education. Now, what does have being literate mean? Being literate means being instructed, having knowledge of letters, minded letters literate, and it was from early 15th century. It is from the Latin word which means literatus and which means learned, someone who knows letters. Now, therefore, being literate is being able to read and write. How much you are reading or writing is how very literate you are. But being educated is something else. Being educated, this also comes from a Latin word which means educo, which means to bring up, to rise, to nourish. So a literate person might not be able to bring up, to rise, to nourish another living being, but education actually makes your soul nourish and helps you nourish your the people around you. As a case in point and an example, a beautiful example is like our dadis and nanis, our grandmas used to say whenever we used to get wounded to apply turmeric on our wounds. They were not literate, they did not study the medical education, therefore they were not literate in medicine, but they were educated in the way of life, and they knew that if you apply turmeric, it is an antibiotic, it's an antiseptic, the wounds will heal faster. So therefore, an educated person may not necessarily be literate, and vice versa is also true. Now, because I am an MBA student, I have been an MBA student, work in corporate life, we are very, very, accustomed to making our own models. So I have also developed one interesting thing. Let's see if we take on the y-axis the literacy, percentage of literacy or the amount of literacy. So on the positive y-axis there is a literate, and the negative axis there is this illiteracy or an illiterate person. Now similarly on the x-axis, if we take education. So on the negative x-axis we have uneducated person, and we have on the positive x-axis we have an educated person. Now, therefore, the people who are literate and are well educated, and they are well educated about life, minded, being educated is about knowing about life, knowing about your soul, connecting with the world, knowing about having a vision, nourishing yourself, being able to nourish others in your life, rising from your current state, helping others to rise. This is not the meaning of education. So if a person is literate and also educated, they are known as seekers, they are known as gurus, and they are preachers, and they impart knowledge to us, like our professors or gurus. Then there are second type of people, and they are our elderlies. They might be illiterate or not so illiterate, and they are educated about the way of life. As I told you, as an example of our grandmas, these are our elderly people. They guide us. They are our mentors in life. Whenever we are faltering in life, we go and we just take guidance from them, and they have some wise advice to tell us. These are the second type of people. The third type of people are the terrorists, jihadis, and fanatics. They are illiterate, or might not be so much literate. Their level of literacy or education level might be low, and they are highly uneducated. They do not know about the meaning of life. What does it mean to kill or to nourish? What does it mean to have a right along with the right kind of responsibility? They are not literate and they are not educated, and so therefore they are very very highly amenable to flowery words, and they go to the wrong direction. They become terrorists and jihadis and fanatics, which we have seen in Pehalgam. And there's a fourth kind, which is more dangerous than these terrorists and fanatics, and which is a person who's literate but has does not know about the way of life, about connecting with the universe, about what is the meaning of soul, what is the meaning of this life, how to nourish a life, and they become, because they're literate, they create a web of words, and they lure these potential terrorists and jihadis into their doing their dirty jobs. And this kind of people are very dangerous. This is the ISI of the world. This is the leaders of Pakistan. This is the leaders of Lashkar of Toyba. They might be literate and uneducated, and these might be the leaders of any terrorist organization. They are very very dangerous. So, Mr. Asimuri, yes, we are very different because we would like to belong to the first and second quadrant in this diagram, whereas your whole nation belongs to the third and fourth quadrant. I mean, with the whole nation, I do not mean 100% of the population, but majority of your population, your culture belongs to the third and fourth quadrant. So, yes, we are different. I agree with you. Now let's move to the very sensitive topic of religion. But before I move into that topic, I would like you to watch a video. Let's watch this video and then we'll discuss this. बहसीयत मुस्लिम मेरा आपसे सवाल है, आप ये बताएं कि साइंस की बात को मानना जरूरी है या कुरान और हदीस की बात को मानना जरूरी है? तो सादा सा जवाब है कि कुरान और हदीस की बात को मानना जरूरी है। तो मोहतरम, फिर कुरान और हदीस में ये दलाइल मौजूद हैं कि जमीन साकिन है। 105 दलीलें दी हैं उसमें कि जमीन हरकत नहीं करती। इतनी ऊंची दुनिया लगी हुई है उसके साथ पर, आज काम हो रहा है उस पर, इंशाअल्लाह आपको वाज़ेह हो जाएगा। 105 दलीलें दी अकल वालों के लिए। लेकिन हमें ज्योग्राफी में पढ़ाया जाता है कि अर्थ जो है वो सूरज का चक्कर लगाता है। ये लॉजिक ये गलत है बेटा। साइंस की ये थ्योरी जो है ना, ये दुरुस्त नहीं है। असल जो थ्योरी है ना, वो कुरान और हदीस वाली है। जमीन साकिन है, यानी जमीन मूव नहीं करती। साकिन को एक अच्छा सा वर्ड इंग्लिश में होता हुआ साकिन, स्टैटिक, स्टैटिक पोजीशन में है, ये मूव नहीं करती। अल्लाह ने जमीन को पैदा किया तो ये कांपने लगेगा। करीम ने पहाड़ और थोड़े मेघे
बना के इसमें लगा दिए, पहाड़ बटोरे, देखो किले बना के लगाए, जमीन ठहर गई। तो हुजूर ने कह दिया ठहर गई, तो मैं कैसे मानता हूँ? क्या है कि लोग इन बातों की तरफ तवज्जो नहीं करते, एक साइंसदान और अंग्रेज की बात को मान रहे हैं, जबकि कुरान और हदीस के दलाइल को नहीं मान रहे।
So while I fully respect all the religions, and this is no way to disrespect any religion or any holy book, but there are certain kind of people who are grown in that kind of culture, who have this kind of mentality. This is about those people who are preaching this. It is not about the whole religion itself. It is about people who are preaching this, and which is found in abundance in Pakistan. So yes, sir, we are different. Before I go further, I would like to say that I do not belong to any political party. I do not have any hidden agenda. I do not belong to any religious group. In fact, I do not believe in any religion. I believe in dharma. And dharma are religion and religion are very different, which I'll prove to you in my coming slides. There's this conflict between the science and religion. And where does this conflict come from? I'll show into the next slide. And this conflict was not only in this part of the world, in this country, or with the preachers whom we have seen in this video just now. It was there in 14th, 15th, 16th century, even in the Europe, in the Western world, wherein case in point is of Galileo. Galileo was condemned and convicted and imprisoned in his home for his whole life, just because he said the earth is round and it rotates, and he was imprisoned. Imagine the irony of it. But in fact, just to make it clear, we have been saying Bhugol. We call geography as a subject in Hindi or in Sanskrit is known as Bhugol. In another video of mine, I have shown Bhumi means earth, Gol means sphere, not circular. We do not call it Bhuvit. We do not call it as earth as a circular thing. It is not it is not two-dimensional. It is not flat. We used to call it Bhugol. That means earth is a sphere. That is the kind of science that we had. So anyways, that's part of another video. If you want to watch this kind of video, please go to my channel. Now, a land where there's an internal conflict between the scientific and logical way of looking at things, and a land where our dharma was born out of science, which I'll prove to you in my next slides. Yes, sir, we are different, and we believe in dharma. Let's move to the next slide. Uh, the slide is about religion. Religion comes out from a Latin word which means religare. Uh, uh, religare. Now, religare means to bind, to combine things. In its verb form, in its adjective form, it is known as religio, another Latin word which means obligation, bond, reverence, respect. Mind these words because they are very, very important to define the meaning of religion, and that is what religion has come to be. And this was then adopted by the English dictionary, and therefore now it comes to mean it is a common sect or a common belief of a section of people, and it binds that sect to an object or being or which is to be revered, and you feel obligated. Mind this word, feel obligated to go down in reverence. So religion is Shraddha. Shraddha is actually a Sanskrit word which means devotion. Religion is irrefutably involves Shraddha, which is devotion. And with devotion comes an unquestionable devotion, wherein you cannot question anything. When there is no question and there is no space for doubts, science cannot exist. And that is why there has been an eternal conflict between science and religion in every part of the world and throughout the whole humanity. Because the basic tenet of science is something different, which I'll talk to you a little later. Now let's first talk about science. Where does science come from? Science comes from another Latin word "scire," which means to know. In its verb form and its adjective form, it is or a noun form. It is known as scientia, which means knowledge, and therefore it has been adopted in the English dictionary, which means knowledge, awareness, understanding of the topic, and most important, last but not the least, mind this word, which is it is known as critical thinking. Now, to be the ability or the capability to be able to analyze things critically, and that is how the whole science got developed. Now, critical thinking cannot be part of a devotion because you cannot critically analyze, you cannot criticize the religion, you cannot criticize the person or an object which whom you are devoted to, and that is where religion and science have always been at loggerheads with each other. And the basic tenet of science is dubito ergo sum. Now, this is one of the three treatises given by René Descartes, who was a French philosopher. He said dubito ergo sum, which means I doubt, therefore I am. In science, you doubt everything. You doubt whether this is the best way to do things or is there any other thing. You start with a doubt and then you prove it. So science is a very step-by-step process of doubting and then proving a thing. Whereas religion, there is no doubt, and that is where the whole conflict between religion and science has always been there and will always be there till the time we believe in the idea of science. Now, then what do we belong to as Hindus? Dharma. Now, dharma is different. Now, what is the meaning of dharma? Dharma means it comes from a Sanskrit word which is dharti lokan dhyate punyatme bhi iti va dharma, and dharma is derived out of a root word dhri, that means to support. So the meaning of this shloka is uh, anything which supports the human population, the people public at large, and punyatma bhima. Then punya means great or beneficial, atma means soul, which can be actually imbibed by great soul. The code of conduct, the way of living which is imbibed by the great souls is known as dharma. Another very important definition of dharma is from the Mahabharata Udyog Parv, chapter 37, verse 16, wherein great soul Vidur was preaching about dharma to Dhritarashtra. Now, Udyog Parv is a parv, is a act, you can say a part of Mahabharata, wherein all the forces of Pandavas and Kauravas were assimilating forces for themselves. They were trying to garner support from different part of the world and trying to gain support for enlarging their enemies for the impending war. That is known as Udyog Parv. In Udyog Parv, chapter 37, there is a shlok number 16, which goes something like this. त्यजेत त्यजेत कुलायेम पुरुषम ग्रामस्थार्थे कुलम त्यजेत रामम जन पदस्यायेम आत्मायेम पृथ्वीम त्यजेत. That means what? That means purusham, for one purush, for person, one person's interest should be sacrificed for the kul. That means for the family because of the greater good. And similarly, gramasyarthe, that means gram means village, for the benefit of one village or a bigger society, even one family's interest should be subdued, because in our dharma our interest is more than is always supposed to be lesser than the interest or the good of the whole society. And then gramam jan padasyayam, that means for the interest of your whole nation, one village or one city's interest can be subdued or can be sacrificed. And last one is very important. Atmayam Prithvim Tejiyat. That means for the benefit of your Atma. Atmayam means for the benefit of your soul. When it comes to doing the right thing, taking the right path, doing the good thing, even the whole world can be sacrificed. And that is the meaning of dharma. Now, in our shastras, in our holy books, you can say there is a dharma shastra. Now, a dharma shastra which is devoted only to defining dharma, you would imagine it will talk about religion that we talked about holy gods and how to pray and what to do. No, sir. Our dharma shastra consists of deals in code of conduct, of social and legal procedures, law of inheritance. It talks about many things. Dharma shastra. That is the meaning of dharma. Now let's talk about Ved. Ved, why am I talking about Ved? Because from Veda, the Hindu Dharma has come. Now, what is Veda? Ved comes from the Sanskrit root word which means with, which signifies to know or to understand. And as we have seen in the earlier slide, science also means to know, to understand, to critically analyze. In fact, our there are two words in our Sanskrit. One is gyan, the other one is vigyan. Gyan is to know, and vigyan is vishleshar of gyan. That means critically analyzing any knowledge is known as science. So to know and to critically analyze was the root of all the Vedas. Uh, in the Vedas, we are supposed to question our existence. Who are we? Who are we? Who am I? Aham Brahmasmi. Whether I am Brahma or whether I am part of the whole universe, whether I am one or whether I am dual nature, non-dual nature. You talk about so many things. You are supposed to question your existence. In fact, so much so that and critically analyze before accepting anything. In fact, so much so that there are two Upanishads which are dedicated to only asking questions. One is the Ken Upanishad and the other one is Prashna Upanishad. In fact, the Nasadi Sukta, in one of our videos, I have said, please read Nasadi Sukta of the Rig Veda. In Nasadi Sukta, the teacher is telling its student that even whether God has created this whole universe, this cosmos, or whether he has also not created it, whether he knows everything, whether he also does not know anything. So that was the kind of freedom which was given to our guru to question everything, and that is the basis of science, the critical thinking, logically asking questions, doubting everything, and that is where Vedas is all science connecting with the whole universe. So connect the inner universe. Our Vedas feel that there is an inner universe which replicates the outer universe, because the whole universe is made up of five elements: ether, air, fire, water, and soil, and so is our body made of, and everything is connected. And this was the whole basis of research in the Vedas. And with this whole critical thinking came out what? There came out six philosophies. What were the six philosophies? Nyaya, Vaisheshika, Sankhya, Yoga, Mimamsa, and Vedanta. Now, Sankhya is very, 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 very important. I mean, it talks about duality of the nature or non-duality of the nature. Yoga is not only about exercises. Yoga means to sum up. Yoga means in Sanskrit means to sum up. It is summing up. It is adding our body, or it is assimilating our body with the universe. Is known as yoga, connecting with the universe. Vedanta will talk about. And with this also came the scientific knowledge and scientific formula. The value of pi was given much earlier than Pythagoras. Pythagoras, even 250 years before Pythagoras gave the Pythagoras theorem, it was given by in the Sulabh Sutra by Rishi Bodhayan. The value of pi was given. The area of rectangle, everything was given, came out with this research. And planetary distances. Our Surya Siddhant, which is more than 14,000 years old, talks about planetary distances, apogee, perigee. There's a whole book which has been the Surya Siddhant has been translated by Ibn Burgess in Mr. Burgess in 19th century, early 19th century or mid 19th century. And if you have a look at this book, each shloka goes into translation of three pages, because there is a lot of trigonometry and calculus used to understand one shlok. That was the level of science that we have. When you say, Mr. Asim Munir, that we are different, yes, we are different, because we are proudly enough to follow the dharma which is based on science. And to prove this point, there's a very beautiful book by Mr. David Osborne. David Osborne. It talks about the science of Hindu dharma. There's a French philosopher, Voltaire. He has written, Pythagoras went to Ganges to learn geometry. Now, whatever I was talking about Vedas was not a figment of my imagination. Even the Western writers accepted that Pythagoras went to Ganges to learn geometry, and from there he learned geometry, and he made the very famous Pythagoras theorem famous. Because we did not have a culture of writing things down. We had we had the oral tradition. So we used to tell all these formulae orally, but Mr. Pythagoras went to West, wrote it down, and it became Pythagoras theorem. Abraham Seidenberg, in his book in the history of mathematics, he writes the early Sulabh Sutra, which I was talking about. Rishi Bodhyan has written. The early Sulabh Sutras inspired all mathematics of ancient world, from Babylonia to Egypt to Greece. This whole number system was carried from India to Persians, and from Persia to Westerners, because they were not able to decipher between the Persians and the Arabics. They named it as Arabic numerals. The Vedic cosmology is the only one which the time scales correspond to those of modern cosmology. This has been said by Carl Sagan, who was a very famous scientist and writer. He died in the 90s, late 90s, very famous scientist. That is the essence of any dharma, that is the essence of science. Chandasastra, the study of rhythm and rag, which you so much despise because of your religious fanaticism. We used to research on rag and Vedas, on rag and rhythm and music. There's a whole shastra, there's a whole textbook which is based on the binary coding system, and which I have said in my earlier videos also. Please go and watch that video. And so therefore, Mr. Asim Munir and all the Pakistanis, anywhere around the world, I want to ask everyone, what is there to detest, to hate about Hindu Dharma? I am not able to understand. Would you hate the idea of medicines? Would you hate the idea of music and dance? Who can hate the idea of commerce and business? Only people who are terrorists and jihadis, who are illiterate and uneducated, can be made to hate this and mind it. Your gurus or people who are falling in that fourth quadrant, their own sons and daughters are studying in the best of the schools and studying science, whereas you have been misguided to detest the scientific way of living. Anyways, so let's move to the next slide. Therefore, I would say religion is not equal to dharma, and which I already said. I do not belong to a religion. I belong to a dharma, which is known as Hindu Dharma, the Sanatan Dharma. Religion, because religion does not have science in it, dharma has science in it. And therefore, there's only one dharma in this whole world, which is Sanatan Dharma. Everything is a religious sect. It's a belief, it's a sampradaya, it's a belief system. It is not a dharma. Dharma, there is only one in this world, which is the Sanatan Dharma. Religion is not equal to dharma. And Veda is equal to science, and since dharma or the Hindu Dharma, Sanatana Dharma came out of Veda, therefore dharma is equal to science, and that is the scientific way of thinking about things. So this is about religion, dharma, and science. Again, saying I do not belong, as I said, I do not belong to any religious sect. Why? Because I belong to a dharma, the scientific way of looking at things. Even in my video, you can see that I have doubted a lot of times about Krishna and what he did. I have I have segregated the fake stories and the real stories, the narratives. Why am I able to do it? Because my dharma allows to have critical thinking, to question things, and to segregate and to derive things in a very, very scientific way. After we talk about all this, let's talk about the next course of action. What should be the course of action for the government of India? I would quote from Udyog Parv, chapter 37, verse 56 and 57. Now, this is again part of the dialogue between Dhritarashtra and Vidur, and this dialogue later came on to be known as Vidur Niti, as we know as. So, when Vidur is saying in this verse 56 and 57 that the energy of fire is great in this world, it is hidden in the wood. Wood in itself does not burn, but it has the potential energy to burn. So it is hidden. The fire is deeply hidden in the wood, but does not consume the wood. If it is hidden in the, even if it is hidden in the wood, it does not consume the whole wood because it has not been ignited. It needs a source of ignition unless it is ignited. But when the wood is drilled and kindled through friction, it uses its energy to swiftly burn up the whole wood which is burning itself, and the whole forest and everything else around it. So, Indian government, we had the fire in ourselves. We have been provoked so many times, but now I think the time has come that the wood has been rubbed so hard by the wails of the crying women, the dead bodies of those innocent civilians which have been killed. The wood has been rubbed with so much of friction that this there is a time to burn the whole forest of this terrorism. So this is to ignite the 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 energy in all of us and to support our government to take action. Now the second shloka, which is there, which is a very beautiful one, and I'll quote it from Mahabharata, and it says, again, the same person, Vidur, is talking to Dhritarashtra, the king, and telling him about dharma. Now, what he says in this shloka is, in Sanskrit, is Ekam Vishasho Anti Sashrayakam Cha Badhate Sarashtam Saprajam Anti Sajanam Sanatriva Sabha. That means poison kills one, and only one is killed with a weapon. But the disclosure of the council of a kingdom and a king with the subjects. But so therefore, Mr. Modi and the government of India, don't disclose whatever you're planning to do, irrespective of the rhetoric in the media to take revenge, to revenge the killing, and to take a lot of action, to take immediate action, and they might be. And I have seen a lot of videos where people are even prescribing to the government as if they are better judges of the action to the course of action to be taken than the army and the army strategy command. They are to this is my message to the government of India, Mr. Modi, and the army chiefs and everyone. Do not disclose whatever you're planning to do. Do it, but do it. And because otherwise, if you disclose it, it will be more dangerous than poison. And when you're planning to do it, do not, even in Gita, Bhagavad Gita, even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna said that any act of vengeance, when a violence is there, when you're trying to kill someone, if while in that act of violence, you want to avenge something, take revenge, then it becomes an act of violence. Whereas any war, when it is done to uproot the evil, the cause of the evil, then it becomes a dharma war. And that is why the whole Mahabharata was not an act of violence, whereas it was the most violent war in the common terms, in the modern terms. Whereas, because as I have said in my other videos, almost 100% of the male adult population was involved in that war. At that point of time, that was the scale of the war. And even that kind of scale of war was not supposed to be violent one, because it did not happen with an act of vengeance from the Pandava side. It was done, it was planned, strategized, and done everything by Krishna and the Pandavas to uproot the evil known as Duryodhan, and therefore, and to get rid of the evil known as Duryodhan. Therefore, it was not an act of for any action in our dharma, karma, dharma, kam, artha, and moksha. So any act of violence, when it is done for dharma and moksha, then it does not become an act of violence, it becomes an act of dharma. Whereas if you will do it to appease the Indian population, let's say the Indian population, if you're trying to appease that I will take this big action and tell people that I will be taking this big action, then you are doing it for calm. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do it only for the sake of do it only for the sake of uprooting the evil. That is my humble opinion and my humble advice, because that is what is written in Gita also. Now let's come to the next slok. It says, Gaurivimo Gaste Bhumi Sarpu Lasyanai Rajanam Cha Vinodharam Brahmanam Cha Pravasin. That means, and it is again from Mahabharata Udyog chapter 33, verse 49. And what it says, the earth destroys too, like a snake destroys people or animals who live in holes. And what are the two things that earth destroys? One is Earth means here in the context of the slope, Earth means the universe or the nature. And what does it destroy? It destroys a king who is not aggressive and a Brahman who has not dwelt away from home. Now, the root point which I am trying to make is king who is not aggressive. A king who is not aggressive is gets destroyed by this universe, because being a king, being a ruler, you have to be aggressive at certain given point of time. And as the first slok that I presented here suggests, that this is the right time. The wood has had so much of friction that wood is burning. Now, if you don't make use of this wood to burn the whole forest of evil, then it will burn your own home. You can make use of this fire to burn your own home, or to burn and uproot the whole evil. But everything has to be done without any feeling of vengeance, because then you will be doing the dharma way. And the last thing, which there is a shloka again from Mahabharata Udyog Parv, chapter 33, verse 47. It says, Ekacham Chamavatam Dosho Devate Nuplabhate Yadenam Chamya Yukta Shaktam Manate Jana. That means those who are those who are forgiving in nature, have only one taint, only one flaw in them. And what is and there's no other flaw in them. And what is that flaw? That people think that the forgiving one is incapable. So if you keep on forgiving this act of terrorism, even one single person dies, it is unforgivable. And here there are more than 25, 26 people who have died. It is unforgivable. Don't forgive. Otherwise, history will treat you, Samodi, as an incapable man. The government of India, the ministers, even our army, everyone, history will write about you as incapable. Don't let this happen, because our dharma does not say that. But again, nothing should be done as an act of vengeance. No king should disclose his counsel. You should not be moved by the rhetoric which is happening in the media. You should be meditating and devising your own plans and strategy, because best strategies happen through a cool mind. And with this is my humble advice. I know the government of India, there are a lot of strategists sitting out there who know better than me, and therefore whom I to advise. I thought of quoting from our Dharma texts, and Mahabharata is supposed to be even according to Vedas, it's supposed to be the amalgamation of all Vedas and all kind of shastras. That's why Mahabharata is also known as the Pancham Veda. So therefore, I thought of quoting something from our Pancham Ved, from our Shastra, to say that what should be the course of action and with what intent you should do it. If you do it with an intent of vengeance, the history will write not good things about us, and it will not be Dharma way. And if we do it to uproot the evil, again, history will write that we will have followed the Dharma. And with this, I end this video. In my next, very soon, I will be coming up with a video on Shiv. There are various forms of Shiv. I'm not talking about avatars of Shiv. There are various levels of Shiva. And then there are various forms of Linga. There is not one form of Linga. And I will be quoting things from Shiv Puran and Linga Puran. And because I follow Dharma, I'm very scientific in nature. I have to be very scientific in nature. So everything, all these texts have been highly researched. A lot of thought has gone into this, and therefore I will be presenting to you very soon the scientific version of Shiva. Till then, Om Shanti, and let peace prevail on you, all of you.